Pigeons 420. Mr. Grow It. And Rob from Cannabis Lifestyle TV. From the Stash Podcast.
This show is brought to you by Dutchpro USA. Nutrients made for growers by growers. From the base nutrients to the Explode Booster. Dutchpro USA is bringing you the essentials that all growers need without the extra bottles. Visit Dutchpro USA or find their products on Amazon.com. Spider Farmer LED. One of the leaders in affordable quality LED lighting for growers. From the SF Quantum Board series to the SE Bar style LEDs. Spider Farmer has you covered without breaking the bank. Find Spider Farmer LEDs on Amazon.com. And AC Infinity. Innovators in the air game, providing state-of-the-art inline fans, tents, and more to the home grower. Visit ACinfinity.com or Amazon to pick up some of their products. And you could save money with any of these brands by checking out the discount codes below in the description. From the Stash Podcast, it's your boy Rob from CLtv, Mr. Grow It, Pigeons. Oh, and a guest. We got Jesse, a.k.a. the Toba Gown. What up, dog?
How's it going, guys? Thank you so much for having me on.
Happy to have you here, man.
Pleasure to have you. Pleasure to have you. We've heard lots about you. I first of all, Toba Gown, Pigeons 420. We're in the same province, which is pretty sweet. I haven't come across too many creators and or cannabis political advocates within the province. So it's awesome to finally meet you, man. I seen you pretty active on Twitter, and I see you pushing pretty heavy for our right, if you will, to grow 4 plants in our province. But without getting into too much too fast, Joey or Jesse, who are you? Where are you from?
So I was born and raised in Selkirk, Manitoba. Well, technically St. Andrews. It's just easier to say Selkirk, because everyone knows where Selkirk is here. Went right out of high school into the military, did some law enforcement, and then had a pretty traumatic experience that really diverted my career path, and I jumped headfirst into the cannabis industry and haven't looked back since.
That's awesome. Now, did you worked for Canopy Growth, correct? Now, Canopy Growth, I believe, is still, at least was Tweed Inc. They had a bit of a rebranding when there was a what do you call it? Not a
Controversy?
No, not an amalgamation.
When there was that big investment from Constellation?
Yes. And then it kind of skyrocketed. They rebranded as Canopy Growth, and if I'm correct, are still the largest cannabis producer in the world.
They're definitely up there. They're a big company. I was working for Namaste Technologies. I was selling bongs and vaporizers in 26 countries online, primarily the stores in Bickle, Mighty, Volcano, Crafty. And then when Canopy got that investment you're talking about, they bought stores in Bickle fully. And that's when I was brought over to run the North American division for stores in Bickle.
And the Volcano, that's a well-known, I feel like a lot of people know about the Volcano, right? It feels like it's a classic piece. I think, I don't know when that was put out, but I feel like that's been out for 15 plus years, if not 20 plus years, the Volcano.
That's and the classic.
Yeah. So I don't have one, but if you can get me a discount, I would appreciate that.
Wouldn't be mad.
But there are other revisions of it, right? I know I believe you were a part of one of the revisions on it, like the hybrid version. Is that right? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the company is over 20 years old. Marcus Storrs invented the first one in 1996. They launched with the classic Volcano. 5 years later, they launched with the digital. And to your point, I helped launch the hybrid. So what that is it heats up 10 times faster. It has a hookah whip on it. And it also uses conduction heat, not just convection. So you can do.
That's what I used.
There you go.
That's dope.
I think Trey might have one like that. I'm pretty sure that's the one he has. It's awesome, dude. That's the only way I like to vape.
That is the OG vape right there. I like if there was anything that I was gonna hit, man, it was that big ass balloon. It like literally like iconicized or made like famous. That
everybody's
balloon.
got their own thing. Like, what's up, dude?
Yeah, and you would think having the smoke like in that balloon just sitting there would like be stale after a while. You know what I mean? Like if you let like the smoke sit in a bong for a little while, like it becomes stale air. But that's not really the case with the Volcano, right? Because it's vaporized, right? So it can just stay in there and you can just sit on there and you could be sitting and toking on that for 15, 20 minutes and it's just all solid.
Yeah, the vapor itself, the taste starts to deteriorate quickly, but the effects will last 8 hours in there.
Oh wow, 8 hours.
Some people even put them in the freezer. Get the vapor
I'll
cool.
reserve it. Nice. Smart people. Holy
Yes.
shit, that's a deep freeze just for vape bags.
I got one more
That is nice.
volcano trick for you.
Go ahead.
Overuse your balloon so it gets nice and resiny inside. And then when you go to bake your turkey on Thanksgiving, because that balloon is a turkey wrap that you can put in the oven.
Oh,
so you
my.
put the turkey in there, then the turkey actually absorbs the THC and CBD resin.
And it's already vaped. Oh, it's infused. Wow.
Yeah, there you
Wow.
go.
Wow.
That's impressive. That's
game
impressive.
changer right there. You might see that on Elevated Chef. Holy
Right?
shit. That is
Right?
cool, man. That is cool.
That's
But
awesome.
dude, so you went from it's such different background to and seeing more now in more political end or at least not political, so to speak, but I'd almost say civil. When it comes to cannabis, this is civil stuff, man. It makes no sense where this is a conversation that's involved in politics, but it is because it's dollars and cents. But seeing how you went from these areas, what, if you're not still in the kind of corporate world, what kind of got you away from there? Like most people think that'd be the dream job is, if there's weed involved, it's the best. Or if it's somewhere related to cannabis, it's the best, as if it's not manufacturing, distribution, and retail.
No, that's a good question. So during the 2.5 years I was at Canopy there, sales were increasing every year. Things were going great there. I had a friend offer me a position at his startup company in the vegan space.
Well, good for you. I guess I can attest for the three of us when I say like it's a dream to be able to follow a passion and something that you're definitely passionate about. And when the less people you have to answer to, the better. The better.
Yeah,
And I could
creative
definitely
can flow.
You're right. And I could definitely tell at Canopy there would be a ladder of people to get through, an entire corporate world to get through.
It's a massive company.
And what was it like working? Because like, in my opinion, I'll get it right out. I have a very negative distaste for canopy growth. When
most
it comes
growers
to,
do.
generally speaking, whether you talk about just the stomp on the industry that they've tried to had, the advocating against my rights as a grower. Forget about the legal battles, the financial troubles, the RCMP going silent in regards to a bust, them smuggling weed. Like, oh my God, if this was a person, these guys would be they'd be prosecuted by the full extent of the law.
They'd be R. Kelly right now.
Because they're a public trading company, it's R. Kelly.
It's rough for him right now.
It is rough. It is rough.
I'm just saying, he fucked up.
How was it to work for Canopy Growth?
So that's a great question. Not that I'm sidestepping this question with my answer, but the answer is I was reporting directly to Jürgen Bickel and his I don't want to call it assistant, but deputy CEO. So I wasn't a part of Canopy's flower organizations or their dispensary rollout across Canada. I was
a subsidiary almost.
Yeah, exactly. I was reporting to Jürgen Bickel, doing just Stores and Bickel stuff. I did come in 6 months before I left and helped launch Martha Stewart CBD in the States. But for everything else you mentioned, I wasn't a part of it. And
that's fair.
Yeah.
Clean heads.
That's fair. That's fair.
I got no beef with you.
Hey, no problem. And you know what? Hey, when it comes down to it, there's a lot of a company like this is typically run by a small hand of people, a small number of people, regardless of how many people it employs. So there's a lot of innocent people involved in these allegations and these stories, if you will. But that's good to hear. Good to hear. I'm not going to let you slip on this Martha Stewart CBD thing, though. That's pretty fucking dope.
Pretty sweet.
How was that, man?
Definitely the highlight of my time there, with the exception of working directly with Mr. Stores and Mr. Bickel, was the day that I led a call where I introduced Martha Stewart to one of our distributors, and going back and forth with Martha Stewart over a Zoom call. I mean, you guys are fantastic, but that had me pouring with
like,
sweat.
we ain't got nothing on her.
Martha, if you're watching, Martha, we would love to have you on. That would be, dude. It's like that's the kind of stuff though is industry things that people they want to have, where it's like, well, they deal with this big influencer, they deal with like a rapper or celebrity of some kind. it's becoming more and more common in the
Or the
industry.
queen of
so
the kitchen herself,
the
Martha
queen of
Stewart.
the motherfucker. Like that's what I'm saying. If you can get your foot in the door, like where you go from there, it's a portfolio builder. So it's huge to be able to see that. And whether you stay within the same industry or you go somewhere else, like that's monumental stuff. And there's not a lot of other industries who are getting that. This is such a budding, no pun intended, well, pun intended industry, where we've got so much opportunity and so much growth that if you can get in with the right companies, whether they be, not the best overall companies, but the subsidiaries or ones that are owned by some of these companies, if you do, you grind right, you carve your own path, you can really get a lot of opportunity, man. And that kind of goes to where now, like, how did the advocacy side of things come in to where it pivoted your mentality? It was like kind of working for the man to going against the man, and not really for the man, but indirectly for the man, to going with the community more. Like, where did that change? I'm assuming maybe somewhere in the vegan world there's a little bit more ethics than Canopy, maybe somewhere in there.
No comment on the last part, but
Smart man.
That's a good question. So when the ban came into effect, when legalization happened in 2019, it really irked me. But at that time, I was working with Namaste Technologies, and I wasn't really in Manitoba. And then same with Canopy, they had me running around North America here. So I never had an opportunity to have a full cycle grow, 3 or 4 months where I'd be in one location being able to monitor the plants the way they should be monitored. And when COVID hit, that put me in a position where I was back in Manitoba full time, no traveling. And it was at that time where now it personally affected me. It was affecting all Manitobans, but at that point, that was the turning point where I'm going to, knuckle down here, find a law firm. I did that in April 2020, so it's almost 16 months ago, and figured out that we had standing, we had a strong case to bring this ban down. And then we launched the lawsuit on August 26th last year. So this upcoming Thursday is our 1-year anniversary of the lawsuit. And that was the big change. It was affecting a lot of my friends, all the Manitobans. And then when it finally came time where I was here and I couldn't grow myself, that was the pushing me over the fence, you call it.
Mm-hmm. So have the laws changed?
No, it's so we launched the lawsuit a year ago. We've been going back and forth with affidavits and briefs, and we hope to be in front of a judge this December, potentially early next year. And that's just the first part. It's called the Queen's Bench, the initial part. The loser can then appeal that first part. And if that loser loses a game, they can appeal to the Supreme Court. So even if we win in December or early next year, if the government decides to appeal the decision, this could be another year or 2 years on top of that.
Jeez, what a
Yeah,
battle,
that makes sense. It does get dragged out, I'm sure. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that, either the people listening or the locals in the area can do to help support this?
Absolutely. So people talking about it and spreading the word is so important, because we're really kicking their ass when it comes to evidence, when it comes to arguments. Now, putting public pressure on not the justice system, but the judge, the government to change this ban is super important. So the more people talking about it and sharing it, that's huge. We're having a protest at the legislative building here in Winnipeg, August 26th. So we're having a guest book so people can come sign, hang out for a little bit, and then leave, just so we don't have stagnant crowds, because that could lead to bad PR if our opposition sees a couple hundred people standing there and you're only allowed to have 150. That could go negative against us, just with the COVID regs.
Mm-hmm.
That was my long-winded answer.
Well, I like that though, man, because that's
a good answer.
I was gonna say, we talked about this before you came on. Like, what can a person do who, let's say, they're in their own area and they're dealing with something like this? How can you go about it? And like, just that alone, what you said is perfect. Getting involved, finding out when there is some sort of, group meeting or a protest of some kind, what you can do with your local legislators and the people who are running things in your area locally is usually where it goes down to statewide and then down to countywide. Or, that's a big thing here, at least where I live, because we just got our first medical dispensary in not Michigan, where I live in particular, over here in West Michigan. After years, it's been 9 years. No, it's been Fuck, it's been more than that. It's been a long time. It's been 12 years, 13 years. It's been legal. We just got our first medical dispensary. Certain areas you can't grow recreational, but you can grow medical. Like, I don't know why they decide better than the state decides, or in your case, then the country decides. How do they know better for their people? What are they restricting other than revenue for their area? They're restricting people who are going to need medical things that can't afford, let's say, the license for our medical plants. Here, it's gotten really cheap. Or in a case where it's like somebody just wants to grow, who's getting bent over the barrel, going to a dispensary, or, you know, getting some moms, we'll say, like, which is awesome. You guys have that in Canada. But there's a lot of variables that come into it where it's like, what can the average Joe do? Do they get with an attorney? Do they find somebody who's an advocate as well? Do they get together, you know, signatures? Like, where do you even start to get this path going?
That's a great question. So, I mean, this is definitely a very aggressive path I took. I didn't do any lobbying. I didn't send any letters. I just went right to suing them. So, I mean, that is definitely an aggressive and time-saving method. There's great advocates out there, and it's just unfortunate that the amount of time and capital that needs to go into a lawsuit to challenge a ban like this, it's a real deterrent for a lot of people. And I've had some friends come in and help, and we've done a fundraiser, so we're really in a good position for the long haul. But when you look at what a government can do, like I mentioned, there's 3 different courts. If we win the first one, what they can do is argue cost for cause, which means they won't pay back legal bills until the very end. So we're going to be at about the 50,000 mark just for the first battle, and then to go to an appeal, that'd be another 10 to 20, and then they can argue it again and lock all that money up. Supreme Court could be crazy amounts of money. So it's really unfortunate that there is an open system for people to challenge these laws, but they make it so expensive that it just deters so many people from doing it. Unless you're doing. Yeah, exactly.
And that's why.
I was going to say, now, is there like a GoFundMe or any way to donate to your cause to help support financially?
Absolutely. So we have a GoFundMe going. I can share the link with you guys afterwards. And we also
we'll put it below on YouTube.
You'll see it in the link below today, guys.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. And we're also selling T-shirts on our website. So if people aren't really into the GoFundMe, they can buy a T-shirt, have some cool swag, and the proceeds go towards the legal bills as well.
Hell yeah,
Sweet.
Man.
That's great.
See, the problem lies, though, just real quick, is
go, please.
We don't have lobbyists for growers because there's not money for growers like that. There's money for commercial grows. They understand that. There's money for corporations. There's money for, like, so these people will throw everything at it because they know for the next 100 years their industry is going to make trillions, billions at least. In our case, it's just growers. So we literally have to strengthen numbers. We all have to come together and think about our 4 to 12 plants, wherever, depending on where you live, and like we have to pool together. We don't have Big Daddy Warbucks who's coming in to drop $1 million in the budget to make sure that we can go because they don't have interest financially to do it. That's what it boils down to with lobbyists.
And if I may, I have to say thank you. It's like because it does deter a lot of people. Deters guys like me. It's like it's a lot of fucking work, man. And it's because of guys like you and your crew that guys like me, we can prop you up on the back end of things in terms of like what we should be doing. August 26th in Winnipeg, you said there is a signing, a petition that no stagnant crowds. So go. You don't have to voice your opinion in terms of putting your face out there. You don't have to stand up in front of your congressman and say, "Hi, my name is Phil and I smoke marijuana." You can do this a little bit more anonymously.
Put a mask on even.
Go to these events, sign the petitions. If there's an opportunity where, that you can send a letter or that's a big thing. But it's because of guys like you that, and the many more before there. What's incredible about our industry is there is a legacy of people that have tried to put their lives on the line. And it is that harsh of a reality of put their lives on the line for the cause of cannabis. And so it's a huge thank you goes out to that because it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job to go this way.
Well, now, I get is a pat on the back. It's not like, again, your industry is making you millions now.
Right.
Now your business is profiting like crazy because you push this new law. It's for the greater good of the people.
It's an uppercut to closed-minded thinking if we win.
It's a big fuck you to the big man. I love it. I
I
love
feel
it.
like even if you do win this case, even for the viewers listening, us three, Rob, Pigeons, myself, we're in states where we can grow legally. It's not the end of the fight, right? There's still so many different areas that are still people getting locked up for this. And so,
Shout
like,
out to
just because you're in a
Nebraska.
legal state, just because you're able to grow, just because you're able to consume, don't stop fighting. Don't say, "Oh, well, I'm good." Fight for the people, the states around you. Fight for your country. It's a nonstop battle. So, again, even though if you're sitting in a legal position, there are people out there that are fighting that are in an illegal state. Fight for them. Help them.
Dude, I
Agreed.
stood up on
Agreed.
the news. Well, I went to the local planning commission thing, and me and Trey went there. And so this lady, the judge, or not the judge, our mayor said the reason they don't want recreational dispensaries is they don't want certain type of people here. I was like, hold up. So I went up, and I at the time didn't have my face so much on cannabis lifestyle. I was doing like back end stuff, and I was a marketer, and I had real estate clients who were in the area who were there for a zoning situation. And I jumped up and I was like, I consume cannabis. I built half the websites in this town. I do most of the marketing, the ads you see, the Facebook. Those are all that I've done. I'm one of those guys you might see at that dispensary. So you don't want me around here? I pay my taxes. I own a home.
That's straight up discrimination. Imagine
That's
if,
what I
like,
said.
A,
I was
a
like-
realtor said that. Well, we don't want those people around. You know what I mean? Like,
She was on
that's
the
a
news.
big no.
That's
So you can't
horrible.
even say
Thing was-
that for.
They pulled it up
right.
on the news where like, local mayor, it's like discrimination against community, this and that. Like, and it was me and like 10 other quality people who came up there. I feel like I'm decent quality. I wasn't looking, even no hat even or anything. I'm like, excuse me, like what? You tripping, Jerry? You tripping? And she's no longer the mayor, so it worked out. But it's one of those deals where you can't. It's discrimination. It's literally discrimination, and the way that people are treating growers right now and consumers right now is discrimination. And at some point, there's going to be a lawsuit, a civil suit against some of these companies and these people and individual government officials, where it's like, we're suing you, motherfucker. Beyond just you changing the laws, like defamation of character, calling us losers, like burnout, saying that we're criminals, like the reefer madness stuff is
Right.
crazy
And I
to
think
me.
what our politicians are getting away with now, and this is the last arm, and if I may, Jesse, you're going to have to add on to this at some point, is that our government bases everything on children. It's about the kids, and it's about
They
the
don't care
underground
about the
market.
kids.
That's it. They've got two arguments left, and of course you can elaborate. And it's battling those two arguments in terms of how it's not impacting children and how legalization is a bigger hit to the black market than not regulation, but decriminalization or criminalization in general. Now, I did want to ask. I wrote a paper on this in university on the arguments in terms of why I thought the prohibition of cannabis was unconstitutional. But I'm curious to hear what your argument is for the courts that will allow Manitobans the right to grow their plants.
Absolutely. So you hit the nail on the head with two of them. So children and people growing for plants and selling it into the black market are two of their biggest arguments. Children being they're worried they're going to go into the tent, grab the plant and eat it. Also, two other arguments they
Happens all
have
the time.
are mold and fires. So
Right.
they're worried about your grow light catching on fire or not having proper humidity control, and all of a sudden you got mold. And they're also worried about quality control. So they say home growers can't guarantee that they're not inhaling mold and stuff like that. So when I read that, it was looking into a time machine back to the Allard case when it was the medical grows against the federal government. What I did was I called across Canada. I got 7 experts and doctors to write affidavits, and they specialize in each and every one of these arguments, different areas, and they completely just destroyed these outdated arguments. We've also been pulling from the Quebec case and other cases, really good research. So we're coming at this with undeniable evidence and progress, and they're coming at us with debunked arguments and closed-minded thinking. So it's
Pro science.
exactly, yeah. And it's the only thing that bugs me is how long it takes with this bureaucratic process, where we file one affidavit, they file a response, we file our experts, we file a brief, they file their brief, we file a response. and then we're in court. Almost at that point, it'll be a year and a half from when the lawsuit started. We'll be arguing.
16 months, right? We're 16 months since the start of the lawsuit, and you haven't been in court yet.
Exactly.
Wow. That's a lot of work, man. It's incredible to think, and we appreciate it, man, because, advocacy is not easy, let alone taking a government to court, because you got to remember, this government has endless amounts of money.
Ballsy.
Endless amounts of money. Granted, it's our money. It's your money that they're fighting us with. But it's, it is not an easy battle.
If no one stands up to the bully keeps on picking on everybody. So once in a while, that's what it takes. And the pioneers are always the ones that just with arrows in their backs, and all they get is a pat afterwards. And I think in this case, it's what it takes to have it affect you directly. So that way there is a victory for you at the end of the tunnel. It's like, I can fucking grow my plants. I don't got to worry about going to jail. Okay, boom. It's not necessarily cool. All right, good. And everyone's better. And you get both, the best of both worlds. You're helping yourself, you're helping others. And this could set a ripple effect in other areas. We're like, shit, we better consider it. We threw a lot of money at this stuff. We better just consider maybe talking to the people and seeing what people think and voting. And maybe voting is what we do. People vote on it because that's what democracies usually do. But I guess certain areas decide that they know more than the fucking federal government. So it just depends. It really depends. And that's the frustrating thing. Where I'm at is they know more than the state government. We've made billions of revenue in my state from recreational cannabis. The price is insane that people pay, and they do it gladly. But certain areas, they decide, we don't want that money. So they send it to the other area and they prosper. I mean, I'm literally seeing it in the county over. They're prospering like crazy. The whole area that was like just the roughest, most ghetto hood is now rebuilding and everything's beautiful. Our area, the money area, is slowly sinking into the old school 70s. And it's just like, well, this is what happens when the people who have power are old grayheads who don't want to listen. And they think that they know better, but they're not in it. They don't know. Bring in a consultant from an area who is a government official in Colorado or in California or in another place in Canada and be like, let's see what the statistics are for you. And let's match it. Instead of thinking they know better. Like, that's the crazy thing. These people don't know better. They don't have the scientific knowledge. They don't have the medical knowledge, but yet they think they know. Every argument's stupid.
Exactly.
All bro science.
And it sets a really, like, I know you two are down in US there, and Pigeons, you're up here. What it does is it sets, and this is beyond cannabis now, it sets a precedent for a provincial government to take something that's federally legal and outright ban it. So if we lose this lawsuit, then the Manitoba government now has precedent. Well, like, okay, let's take a look at driving. Let's take a look at drinking. Like,
gay marriage in certain areas is going to be banned. Fucking maybe like, guess what? Hey, 18 and older for cigarettes? Nope, 21 for you.
Exactly.
And it's like, what? It's I can't stand that kind of stuff. I think it's overreach of power and it's abuse of power. People who aren't qualified to do that on a state level or on province level, do it to your capabilities of growth for you. And when the greater good is at risk, I understand when it's something of raising taxes, with something of adding in a facility that could take jobs, XYZ. But when it's something that literally just can add money.
You also need to remember, too, that these 4 arguments now that they're running on are, again, perpetuated by a government, right? So there's a reason it still gets thrown around, is because there's people out there that believe it. It's not just the people in power, right? Yeah. Because it's like these people are reinforcing this stigma by reinstating this same government over and over and over and over again, And the government's the one that has access to the TVs. They're the ones because we have state-controlled media here, believe it or not.
Really?
And they're yeah.
God, I thought Canada's this free wonderland that you go there and everything's candy.
Well, it's state-run. Like, we got CBC media. Like, that's another argument. That's a whole other argument.
Damn.
But and it sounds much worse. Well, maybe it is as worse as it sounds. Who knows? Who am I to say?
Holy shit! I'm learning new things every time we talk.
I can't entirely remember where I was tying this into, but they have the ability to perpetuate whatever argument they want. It's much harder for Jesse. It's much harder for me. I got a little bit of a platform to scream from, but it's a lot harder for us because we don't have the same voice to be able to fight back. But again, we're just fighting for the right for 4 plants. That's one battle. Plants. We're just trying to get to the federal legality of 4 plants. right?
I thought that was like a
4?
God-given right in Canada. I thought you were born in Canada and you get a steak knife.
You are.
and plants.
You come out of the womb
I'm like,
with
fuck
seeds in
yes.
one hand and a glass pipe in the other
You
hand.
know,
Like,
and I'm like,
just-
this is what it is. It's Canada.
But no, but
we
it's
have
not
less
how it is.
restrictions here, where it's like if you are over 21, grow plants, boom. But then again, certain areas where I'm at, they say no, not there, you can't, and you can grow outside, but not here, you can't. It's like, what the fuck?
Right.
And I know Chris has weird stuff where it's like you got to be so far from a dispensary. It's all about the corporations. I'm 100% certain this is a lot of what it comes down to. You guys are going against not just the government, but do you have recreational dispensaries where you're at?
Recreational.
We
Yep.
do, yeah.
Yeah.
We do yes.
Well, still,
very
you have
regularly.
all right. So,
Yeah.
but that's
But we don't
competition.
have-
So there
you
could be
mentioned-
someone lobbying on the other side that you don't even know who's also
there
saying,
is.
"Whoa,
Of course
no,
there is. Of
no,
course
this
there
is
we have
these are
big
bad."
pharma. We've got
Don't do
tobacco. We've got it all here too.
We've got
all
this
here, too.
MCMA thing here
Hell,
in Michigan right
we've got
now.
this canopy growth company that also lobbies our right to grow our own plants.
That's my point.
So-
So
and-
it's not
so-
just you guys fighting
No.
this battle. There's someone else fighting against you alongside this who is money too. So that's the scary side of it. Here in Michigan, we got Green Peak and a group of evil bastards who are doing the MCMA. We just reviewed a cultivar I had no idea was a part of their shit. Flourish, cannabis, bunch of douches. Didn't know. Good thing the shit was like very pissy. It was nasty, bud. But point is, you don't know sometimes the companies you're supporting are against you in the recreational world, or when you're in this battle, there's an invisible enemy. There's the invisible mafia, and that's the corporate world that's also lobbying with the government against the small grower. There's no financial gain for the government or for corporations if we grow. That's the thing that's scary about this. There's no financial gain. So there's got to be information. There's got to be pioneers. There's got to be advocates. Otherwise, we don't have anything. It'll cease to exist, and you just have people who buy from the market that's controlled by the market.
On that, I've been hammering the government with because I'm sure that is a worry for them. But when you look at grow equipment, fertilizer, nutrients, seeds, reoccurring things you need for growing that can be taxed. So instead
Not
of
everybody's going to grow.
exactly get some community workshops going where you're paying tax on admission and stuff like that. It's versus people growing anyway and getting their seeds illegally. It's it's just unfortunate
and
they don't see
nothing
it.
and nothing coming back.
Exactly.
Dude, I would
right.
pay a fee. I mean, I don't. Maybe I'm the one guy. Someone's like, "Fuck you, Rob." I would pay $200 a year to the government to have my license to grow my plants where I'm at, and you can't fuck with me. Leave me alone. I'm allowed to grow 4 plants. Leave me alone. And it's like shit. $200 compared to $200 a Z or more.
I would just be willing to pay
Like,
taxes.
shit. Well, that's what I'm
I
saying.
would,
Even
like,
taxes. Like, I
fuck
don't give
giving
a
the government
fuck,
any more
dude.
money. But I'm just thinking, pay my taxes. If you're going to tax recreational cannabis, go for it, and all the things associated, go for it. I'm against taxing medical cannabis because we
Same
don't
here.
tax medicine anywhere else. Mostly in this country, it's just cannabis, medicinal cannabis that gets taxed, which is strange. So it's, again, so many battles. The government has squashed so many aspects of our industry. We're not talking clones. We're not even talking grow. Like we're not even talking sailing or a farmer's market. It's just like, this is just the ability to grow 4 plants. This is the hassle that Jesse has to go through to just get through one hoop. And that hoop leads to an endless field of hoops. Surrounded by crocodiles.
You best believe it. When this ban comes down, I'm growing some trees in my front yard. That's the plan.
Hell
Yes.
yes, I love it.
Yes,
I
of
love
course,
it.
and you should, and like it's people ask me too. When Canada goes legal, are you still going to be a medical user? And it's
I still am a
100%.
caregiver. I still have my medical card.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not looked at as the same as anyone else. I get to grow a limited plants. I think I get off the top of my head, I think I can grow 30 plants, which is astronomical.
Yeah.
But it's like 30 plants, and then I can have pounds in my possession, and so on and so forth. Where it's like if I just disregarded that, I can't even grow 4 plants.
Well, dude, and
You
like
know.
while I want to break the stigma, my in-laws look at me as a medical patient and shit. Like they're like, "Oh, he's a caregiver." No, oh well, he has his medical card. And then their buddy who just smokes, he just smokes. He's Bobby's a stoner. I'm like, Bobby's grown his 12 plants legally. It's recreational, but same situation. But all of a sudden now, because I'm the medical guy, it's like, oh no, he's patients. He's like a doctor who grows weed. He's Dr. Feelgood. So there's a misconception. There's a stigma there, but it's like I really think that anybody who is in a medical program should stay with it because it will die off. You will see places that don't keep it going. You see Oregon talking about not having a medical program because people are like, fuck it, I've got street bud at the black markets or the flea markets, whatever. I've got pounds of bud I'm growing outside here, like I'm good. But at the same time, then the medical program rights are gone too. We had here in Michigan where if you got pulled over, and it was changed, thank God, but if you get pulled over with a nanogram of THC in your system at any point, that's an OWI, an operating while intoxicated, and you get in some serious trouble. And it's like, really, a nanogram? Now, well, as a medical patient, though, they'd have to prove that cannabis somehow influenced the driving. So now it's like your rights change, even but at the same time, you could have more weight as a recreational person. You can carry more wax. You can carry more flour. I can only carry 2.5 as a medical patient, but then I'm also recreational medical. So these laws and these rules are weird, but you still have protection on the medical side. So I think people will get away from it if it's full recreational. So there has to be that balance where people see like, hey, keep that medical going because it does keep some of our rights, but at the same time, they don't make sense. These programs will be eliminated if there's no money for the government. If they're not getting renewals, people aren't paying for their card, you know?
You said something earlier, 12 plants?
Yeah, I can have 12 plants per patient.
Wow, okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Sorry, I thought you meant
you have
recreational.
12. Yeah, recreational too, 12 plants.
Wow.
Per household. So like if there's one person growing in the house, that's it for the house. But it's like still 12 plants, any size. That's pretty damn good, man. Like I don't run out of bud. So it's pretty nice.
Should change the lawsuit. Screw 4, let's get 12. That sounds awesome.
Like, fuck that. Be like, look at Michigan. They're right below us. Come on, motherfucker.
Ask for double what you want, and then hopefully...
and negotiate. Yeah, that's what I always try to shoot for. Usually doesn't always work, but you try.
Well, I
heard you have a YouTube channel. So what goes down on your YouTube channel? What kind of stuff are you putting out there?
So I'm most active on Instagram. On the YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, what I normally put out is updates on the case. So when a monumental thing happens, like when we filed our first affidavit or all of our doctors and experts. Also, I'm putting out there like the community here in Manitoba and beyond has been so supportive around this, so that a lot of them are making really cool videos with their Toba Gown t-shirt or just sharing some really cool pictures. So we reshare those on there. But it's really a platform for letting people know and giving them instant access to updates in the case.
And go ahead, plug. What's your Instagram? Go ahead. What is all your, where can we find you, man?
So on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Toba Gown. We're very lucky. We locked down those names early.
Sweet.
So check us out, tobagown.com as well. We got some cool swag on there and lots of updates. And you could actually download, they're really long and boring, but you can download all the legal documents that we've submitted so far. Thousands of pages on there. So if you're up for some reading.
Someone's going to look at it. Someone's going to look into that. Well, there's a lot of good information in there too, because this is monumental. It's going to be a pivot because we're not the only province. There is one other province, Quebec. I'm not sure if any of the territories have fallen in line as well or have disregarded. So but I know Quebec and Manitoba, right? Just the two?
You're correct. So actually, Quebec lost in 2019. The government lost and said, okay, you can't ban this. And they actually appealed it. And they, just like I mentioned, that victory was in 2019. And we're in 2021 here. And the appeal was heard a month ago. So we should have an answer from that appeal in the next 2 to 3 months, hopefully. And if the Quebec government loses again, then the Quebec case will wait for the Manitoba case, and we'd go to the Supreme Court together. That's likely what would happen. But it's unfortunate that Quebec government lost in court almost 2 years ago, and they've been silently fighting it and appealing it, and people still aren't allowed to grow there. So,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's really backwards.
Yeah, I was just double checking that. That's crazy, dude. Like, I don't understand, again, how these people think they know more than the federal government.
You mentioned that you've August 16th in Winnipeg.
26.
Got a few... 26. I almost
already
passed. Wrong twice.
I'll make sure this video's out before
August
then, too.
26th. Yes. Yeah. in Winnipeg, you can go and sign. Was there anything else that people can do? We're gonna put your GoFundMe in the description below. If you know the link off the top of your head, feel free to say it. If it's not just
It's never easy. It's always
It's a longer one.
It's right.
Yeah.
Where else? What else can they do to help support the cause?
TobaGown.com. Grab yourself a t-shirt. We ship in Canada and the States. We've actually had quite a few people from the States buy the shirts. I guess that they like the story, and I love that. I love the support.
Sweet.
And if you're in Manitoba, and I guess Pigeons, this is coming to you, Thursday, August 26th from 10 to 7 p.m. I'll be at the Ledge with a guest book. Come and sign it. Show some support. You can
Count
sign
me there,
it
man.
anonymously.
Count me there. But just
Nice.
I'll be in and out so we don't get any kind of crowd.
Awesome.
But yeah,
Be great
count
to
me
see
in.
you.
I will be there. 26. Got it.
You might have
Man.
blonde hair. You might look
Jesse,
a little weird.
yeah, right. I'll have like some kind of boof mullet or something.
Yeah, I love it.
But Jesse, man, if there was anything else that you wanted to mention before we get out of here, man.
I mean, if any of our opponents are watching, I can't wait to kick your ass in court very shortly. Let's bring it on.
That's what I like to hear, man.
I love it.
Chris, did you have anything to add?
No, just Jesse, thank you so much for kind of, leading the way in this case in particular. And it really does drive influence across into the States, right? I know we've got viewers from all over the world, but hopefully they'll be influenced to kind of take a stand on the laws in their areas. So thank you for being that person.
Absolutely. There's lots of bricks to lay. So this is the one I'm doing here in Manitoba, but there's so many fights around the world.
Jesse, thank you so much for being here today, man. We really appreciate it. Great conversation, and we haven't said it enough, but thank you for the work you're putting in there, man, and thanks for you and your team, because I'm sure you're not alone.
Absolutely. I got a great team. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, anybody in the chat who's not following them already, make sure you do it. And if you got anything that you're doing locally, let us know. Drop it below. We'd love to be able to help any sort of community that's trying to go for the greater good of what's happening here. So, with that being said, it's your boy Rob, CLtv, Mr. Grow It, Pigeons, Toba Gown. We'll see y'all next time. Peace.